Welcome to I Found This Great Book. My name is Curtis, and today I'm starting a new series. I'm reading all of Zora Neale Hurston's short stories in as close as possible the order that they were published in. And, I'm a big fan of Zora Neale Hurston. I read a few of her short stories, and I think this will be a fun journey. So, for the next quite a few weeks, every Thursday, I'm going to talk to you about one of the short stories I read. And we're going to start with the first short story that Zora Neale Hurston ever had published, and that's John Redding Goes to Sea. Now, this was published in May 1921. And you can find it. There are two collections of Zora Neale Hurston's short stories. The first one is called The Complete Stories, and that's been out for a while. And a new one was just released this year called Hitting a Straight Lick with a Crooked Stick. Now, some stories appear in both books, but then there are a lot that are unique to each book. So you can find this story, John Redding Goes to Sea, in both books. So I get the feeling this story is kind of set in the 30s and 40s. And just to give you an idea, it's about John Redding, and it looks at his life from childhood all the way to adulthood. And the main conflict is his desire to fulfill his dreams versus the reality of the world and needs of his family and all of these other things. And it's that desire, you have this dream, but then things in life happen that can defer that dream. And that's what makes John Redding so interesting. He has his dream, things get deferred for one reason or another. And that whole thing of I want to follow my dream and you're getting pushback or other things are happening. And when do you make that move? So it's a good little story. When I read this story, I had several feelings. You know, the story did bring up those feelings of things you look at in your own life where you had this dream, you didn't do it because of this or that. And you just feel that frustration. But it's not just you in the world either. So your dreams or your choices have impacts on others. And you see that. And it's amazing how in such a short little story, Zora Neale Hurston paints this really vivid picture and you get these feelings. When I initially read the story, I kind of felt the way the women were painted in the story were a little needy and clingy. But then I thought about it and I said, okay, if this was set in the 1930s, the women in the story, so much of their livelihood and existence was really tied to the men they were married to. So it's not just a matter of, oh, I can go do whatever I want to do and you can go do what you want to do. It was a very different world in the 1930s. So that gave me a little better understanding when I thought about it. So it wasn't as... I saw the women in the story in a different light. Also, you could feel a little frustrated. You could understand John's frustration with things, but also you feel a little frustrated with him because he made a choice. He had a dream. I'm not going to tell you what happens in the story. He had a dream. He made a choice. And that choice really was opposite of what he dreamed of doing. So, you know, it kind of goes to where we make choices that aren't in line with our dreams either. And then we still want our dream. And you get this thing of when is it right for you to be selfish to pursue your dream? And when is it right for you to say, okay, that may have been my dream, but I made these other choices and I have obligations and responsibilities there. And so Zora captures, and again, in this little short story, she captures all of those complexities of life. So it really makes it an interesting story. Now, Zora Neale Hurston wrote in dialect. And so when you're reading the story initially, if you're not used to it, it's going to take a little time to get used to the rhythm, but it's not like it's going to take the whole story. But once you get used to the rhythm, you'll find it actually makes the characters more real. I felt warmer towards the characters. I actually felt in the story. When reading any good story, it really should bring up some questions in your mind. And again, the one question that this story brings up is, when is your desire to fulfill your dreams selfish? That's the question. And there's no set answer for that. But that's the one question that came up in my mind. So wrapping things up, great first story. I enjoyed it. And I'm sure as I read on and start reading more of her stories and see her progress in terms of her writing skills, it'll be interesting to go back and look at this story compared to the ones that are coming in the future. I think this is a good story for everyone to read. I think most adults will find it interesting. One, just for historical purposes. This is the first published short story by Zora Neale Hurston. And it is a little tragic, so be prepared for that. But it moves fast, and once you get used to the dialect, you get used to the rhythm, you're going to really find that makes the story even more real. The people are more real. Well, that's the first story in our trek through Zora Neale Hurston's short stories. I really encourage you to read it and join me on this trek. I know you're going to enjoy this story and you're going to enjoy this journey. This is Curtis from I Found This Great Book, and have a great reading day.